Hello, my name is Dr. Jackalyn Rainosek, and I'm with DTP-Leadership Group. And as you know, this is Hot Topic Bold Talk. I want to talk about when leaders put power before country and the high cost to America. When they do this, then what happens is we have corruption, which replaces leadership when they put their power above the caring about our country. The President of the United States could care less about respecting the Constitution and the rule of law. And when that happens, corruption reigns. And that's what we're seeing. Not only corruption, there'll be a lot of blaming and no accountability for Trump's actions or any of his administration or our mega members of Congress. You'll see the same patterns of behavior that he is doing. This podcast is also about how Trump has an inability to be emotionally connected to what is happening in America. And it's about the stock market crashing, and it's about the economy, and it's about the disastrous things that are happening. Because he's a transactional leader, not one who cares about things. It's all about him. Now, I want to provide in all my podcasts noteworthy stories about what is happening. The purpose of my podcasts are always for me to research and keep you up to date with what is happening in the U.S. and how it relates to other countries. I want to make certain that the lies are being put out by Trump, Musk, and mega Republicans will be identified by you because you'll know the truth about what is happening. So I carefully select the things that I choose and I choose them from about 40 or 50 different articles, trying to find the ones that have the greatest amount of connection with each other so you will have an idea about a specific topic. Now, I want to first talk about insider trading and the questions we have about it and holding mega Republicans accountable. The Public Citizen on Monday, April 14th, called profiting from Trump's tariff tantrum as a major issue. And so the co-presidents of the Public Citizens wrote in their newsletter the following things, and I'm quoting them. Did you see what Trump posted last Wednesday morning? This is a great day to buy. A few hours later, Trump paused most of the stupid and destructive tariffs he had unilaterally imposed on dozens of nations all over the globe. Following this seemingly sudden reversal, the stock market had one of its largest one-day upturns in over a decade. And he warned people what was coming. Members of the Congress are required to publicly disclose stock trades valued at over $1,000 within 45 days. Some of the members of Congress, including Representative Cortez, Senator Warren, and Senator Schumer, are saying the American people should not have to wait to find out if any mega Republicans profited from Trump's tariff tantrum. They are calling for every member of Congress to immediately disclose any trades they made between April 2nd and April 9th. They are calling for state attorney generals to investigate whether Donald Trump, his family, anyone in his administration, or any member of Congress engaged in insider trading, market manipulation, or other illegal actions related to the tariff pause. They are calling for a ban on stock trading by members of Congress altogether. And their message to all of us is to tell Congress this message. It would be unconscionable if members of Congress use their position to benefit financially from Donald Trump's tariff insanity. especially when millions and millions of everyday Americans are suffering the resulting financial chaos. Every senator and representative should immediately disclose any stock trades made between April 2nd and April 9th. State attorney generals should investigate any potential wrongdoing, and members of Congress should be banned from trading stocks altogether. And they say, then take action now. Now, I'm going to give you examples of the conflicts of interest that Trump has. And no one will hold him accountable except us as voters. It's important for you to listen to or also read podcast 126, where I revealed what Trump is really doing. 126 is entitled Unmasking Trump, the Weakness That Could Bring Him Down. Since I describe in detail what Trump is doing by naming his fatal weakness, which is patrimonialism. You may never have heard that term. I detail it in 126 because it describes how we can truly understand what he's doing and how he can do these outrageous things and have no connection to what he's doing with the tariffs and his constant need to attack anyone that he considers his enemy. His enemies are the ones that have tried to hold him accountable. Now, many things that Trump does, I have named in my podcast and I continue to do so because it allows us to know what to do and what actions to take. Now, I think the next section I'm going to talk about in my podcast is a government for sale, how Trump's conflicts of interest endanger America and they endanger all of us. The Atlantic has done an outstanding article also on April 14th by Anne Applebaum, and it's named Kleptocracy. Kleptocracy. It describes in detail what Trump lacks of respect for the Constitution of the United States. Please let me correct something. It's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy. Now, Trump lacks the respect for the Constitution or law, since he's established conflicts of interest as a part of his administration, which leads to extensive corruption. And here are the important things that are a part of this article in the Atlantic. And I think Applebaum has done an outstanding job of detailing to the nth degree what he is doing. And honestly, I was shocked at what all is happening. And I read all the time. As the stock market crashed on April 4, Donald Trump left Washington, D.C. He didn't go to New York and try to consult with Wall Street. He did not go to Dover, Delaware, to receive the bodies of 4 American servicemen killed in an accident while serving in Lithuania. Instead, he went to Florida to visit his Doral Golf Resort, which was hosting the Saudi-backed LIV golf tournament, and stayed at his Mar-a-Lago club, where many of the tournament fans and sponsors were staying. His private businesses took precedence over the business of the nation. Again, I want to repeat that. His private businesses took precedent over the business of the nation. I cannot imagine any other president doing this. And not only that, I know of none that have ever missed a return of soldiers that have died because they were serving our country. Many of his guests at this event were interested in boosting Trump's personal interests, as well as gaining the president's favor. One of them is a Saudi person who is head of a $925 billion sovereign wealth fund and is also chair of the LIV. Other sponsors of the tournament included Saudi Air, Aramco, TikTok, which you know is a Chinese social media platform that Trump is personally trying to profit from. Now realize this, once upon a time, not even that long ago, blatant conflicts of interest, especially involving foreign entities, were something presidents sought to avoid. No previous inhabitant of the White House would have wanted to be seen doing personal business with companies from countries that seek to influence American foreign policy. Such dealings risk violating the Constitution, which prohibits government officials from accepting gifts, titles, or any kind of money from foreign governments. But during Trump's first term, the court system largely blew off his commercial entanglements. Now he's not only doing business with foreign companies, as well as domestic companies that have direct interest in his policies. He even advertised what was going on and celebrated what was happening at the golf tournament. We know the identity of the golf tournament sponsors, and investigative journalists didn't have to go and look and burrow out where the secret contracts were. They were on the official website and were displayed on a billboard at his golf course. Both the website and the billboard would have been scandalous in any previous administration. We are hardly remarked upon now. They don't say anything about what he's doing, because Trump's behavior is a symptom of something much greater. And that's the reason I'm talking about the trading on the stock market by congressmen and administrative staff and himself, and also about the other corruption that is very evident in our country. Trump's behavior is truly something that is very disastrous and inappropriate for a president to do. We are living in a time where a broad shift has occurred from transparency and accountability, which is mandated by most modern democracies, to Trump's oblique habits and corrupt practices of his autocratic system that he uses. For the past decade, American governments and businesses alike have slowly begun to adopt the model that I've named and pioneered by countries such as Russia and China, where the rulers' conflict of interest are simply part of the fabric of this system. Trump's family has created a cryptocurrency business. It's called World Liberty Financial, that could, in practice, serve as a vehicle for him to be paid indirect bribes. Nobody around him is objecting. He said in this administration he would have no one that would not support him. After Trump's return to office, his administration, unbothered by the appearance of impropriety, did indeed quickly suspend a civil investigation into a Chinese entrepreneur and an advisor to his World Liberty Financial company, who had also invested at least $75 million in the company. More recently, the Wall Street Journal discovered that the executives from a cryptocurrency exchange met with Treasury officials to ask for looser oversight, even while they were at the same time negotiating a private business deal with World Liberty Financial, which Trump's family owns. In the past, if something happened like this, it would be stunning. It would be named, it would be looked at, and there would be no such thing that would happen. Now, the tragic thing is, this company that's asking for less oversight was fined $4.3 billion, a record for letting terrorists, drug traffickers, and people under sanction use its exchange. So the company's interest is lose oversight so we can do whatever we want. And I look at that list and I think, what are you talking about taking undocumented immigrants out? You are literally supporting a company that does all the things that you're accusing undocumented immigrants about. And it's ridiculous for him to have advisors that are helping him to build that cryptocurrency that are a part of this company. In keeping with the new atmosphere, we'd also see in the inauguration itself became an audacious display of the new administration's cryptocratic values. American tech CEOs were the most prominent guests at the inauguration, and they got the most attention. There were also foreign business partners of Trump's organization that attended it. They posed for photos with Trump, and they used them for promotional materials for their company. Several lesser-known companies involved in regulating and other negotiation with U.S. government quietly donated hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to be able to be a participant in the things he's doing. Soon after, in a late-night purge, Trump fired 17 inspector generals, all people who were responsible for monitoring corruption and ethical violations in the government. Please see what is going on here. He is encouraging corruption rather than limiting it or doing something about it. Trump isn't just regarding old norms for his own sake. He's making it easier for others to cut corners too. From the beginning of his career, Trump has always participated in oblique offshore world of shell corporations and anonymous bank accounts. This is what attracts autocrats or criminals and anyone else who seek to hide their money. As of 2018, more than 1 out of every 5 condos in Trump's branded buildings have been purchased by shell companies who we don't know who the true owner is. Or it may be an anonymous owner that has decided to buy business during his term. And this happened in his first term. Now his administration is helping other businesses that operate in the shadows to stay there. Trump's Treasury Department announced last month that it would no longer enforce the Corporate Transparency Act, hampering recent congressional efforts to end money laundering, tax dodging, and other law breaking by anonymous investors. He lied about being about law and order. You can see this right here. In an executive order, Trump suspended enforcement of Foreign Corporate Practice Act, which prohibited American and foreign companies from paying bribes to do business. The Department of Justice is also disbanding a task force that was set up to administer sanctions on Russian oligarchs that are close to Putin. Oversight will be removed from many domestic financial and government institutions too. Trump has ordered a full work stoppage at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now, it's in the courts right now determining what's going to happen with it. But this group protects you and me from the manipulation of banks and other financial institutions. He has fired top officials overseeing ethics, whistleblower protection, and labor rights, including the head of the Office of Government Ethics, the Office of Special Counsel, and the Merit System Protection Board. Meanwhile, the Justice Department officials are drafting plans to reduce investigations of fraud and public corruption, which means that persecuting crooked officials will be difficult. The cuts in the IRS means that tax fraud is going to be very hard to identify and prosecute. Just last week, the Justice Department announced that it would curtail investigation of cryptocurrency fraud and disband its National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. One particular backer of Trump has profited extensively from this conflict of interest. You don't like him? Hear what he's done besides destroy our various agencies of our government. Elon Musk, who has no mandate other than the personal blessing of the president, now has enormous influence on the government's institutions that he has for a long time wanted to do something about. Must slash jobs at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the federal agency that oversaw auto safety and crash investigations, including those involving his own electric vehicle company. So you have to understand something. He fired the very people that were investigating him for fraud. Musk oversaw and massive firings at other regulatory agencies that had launched more than 30 investigations into his company, which included SpaceX and Neuralink. At the same time, majority government agencies, including the General Service Administration and the Federal Aviation Administration, are using or were considering the use of Starlink, a product of SpaceX. The state government planned to buy armored Teslas. One Commerce Department official, Evan Feynman, resigned last month because of the administration's push to use Starlink to provide rural broadband services. And he said, stranding all or part of the rural community of America with worse internet, because he said that's what Starlink is, the worst internet, so that we can make the world's richest man even richer, is yet another in a long line of betrayals by Washington and by Trump. Musk isn't breaking the law, and he doesn't have to say or do anything to encourage these changes. His new role as America's premier oligarch means that all kinds of people and agencies will taught him. Now, I know he's having some difficulty now, but we're going to watch and see what happens. Musk has also had real influence over foreign policy. If they're upheld in the courts, Dodge has cut USA aid to the U.S. Institute of Peace and to the U.S. Backed foreign broadcasting, including Voice of America. They'll all be delivered deep blows to American diplomacy and our soft power. And I have talked about this in another podcast. In addition to the damage they will do to the international health care and humanitarian aids. And we know children and women are dying today because we are not giving the aid that is needed. China has competed with the U.S. in the realm of narrative and ideas, as well as economics. It's curious that Musk was in a position to make these decisions also favorable to Chinese soft power. Even though he has an important ongoing relationship with China, he has a factory for Tesla, which is the largest in Shanghai, which is opened, and it has over hundreds of millions of dollars in Chinese loans. But in Trump's administration, outside interests are no big deal. Let's take another example. FBI Director Kash Patel, during his Senate hearing, revealed that he had received $1 to $5 million in stocks as payment from the corporate parent of Shin, a Chinese e-commerce company that has been accused of using forced labor in its supply chain. He told senators that he would not divest himself from this. Patel has also consulted with a Czech group, which is a foreign arm conglomerate that J.D. Vance, when he was still in the Senate, said had ties to the inner circle of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Although Patel, in his new role, will be responsible for countering Russian and Chinese influence and espionage operations, 51 senators that are Republicans went ahead and confirmed Patel. But these are not the only conflicts of interest we know about. How many people have benefited from the tariff shift and his then pulling it out one day? How much advanced knowledge did they have about how he would reverse the tariff position? How many others are making other stock market bets based on their access to government information? We don't have those answers. And the Trump administration, his Justice Department, is unlikely to even worry about finding out. So we are living in a very dark world with corruption and lots of actions that we would have never seen before in our country. Now, Applebaum indicates that she published a book, Kleptocracy, Inc., which argues that many modern dictators are best analyzed not through the premise of their ideology, but through the political and financial interests of the people who run them. So she's saying the best way we can look at Trump is who he's running with and what is he doing with them. The presence in the American government of so many people, most notably the president, whose financial interests can be directly and immediately affected by their political decisions, means that we now need a different way of analyzing American policy. To understand Trump's policy toward Russia and Ukraine, for example, one should ask, how will they end the war? And how will they shape America's relationship to Europe? But who in Trump's immediate circle will benefit from the lifting of sanctions? And have the Russians made explicit financial offers already so they can have these sanctions removed? The rare mineral deal now being negotiated with the Ukraine deserves close scrutiny as well. We need to establish which Americans exactly will benefit by all the actions that Trump is taking. The right question to ask about Trump's tariff policy is also financial. How will this enormous change to American trade policy benefit Trump? Not us. How will it benefit Trump? One answer is already clear. The countries and large companies damaged by these tariffs, some of which could face huge losses or even bankruptcy, will have an enormous incentive to play up to the president, to offer him political donations, and maybe even to offer business deals to him, his family, and his friends, in order to get some kind of exception made for them or their industry. When I said he's transactional, that's all transactional. There is no emotional connection or any moral or ethical concepts that he holds. In a law-abiding administration, personal finances wouldn't be an important part of the public debate. But this administration's leaders have decided that the laws and norms of behavior that have been held for a century or more don't apply to them. the the Republican-led Congress has so far decided not to enforce anything. It's now up to the media, to the outside organizations, to the whistleblowers that keep reporting the slides into the state of being that we're in, the public, and to the courts to make sure that remaining laws are enforced. It is up to the Democratic Party to follow the lead of opposition movements against this kind of autocratic system to put corruption at the center of their arguments. Before it's too late, everyone who can do so must communicate what is happening to the American government, to the American that's happening on the American foreign policy and American trade policies. They're slowly being transformed, not to the benefit of Americans like you and me, but to the benefit of the president, his family, and his friends. We're the ones that can stop him from doing that. That is the reason every time the League of Women Voters sends me things that I'm supposed to take action on, I do it. Or the reason that I belong to two organizations that are sending out letters to Congress and to the Supreme Court to do something about what is happening. So I want to conclude this podcast by saying we're at a real serious crossroads. When a president no longer serves the people, but instead exploits the highest office for personal gains, we are no longer a democracy. We are teetering on the edge of kleptocracy. Trump's blatant disregard for the Constitution, his indifference to the suffering of everyday Americans, and his open embrace of foreign financial interests are not random actions. They are a pattern of corruption and self-dealing he has done his entire life. That's the reason he was convicted of criminal charges in New York. We must recognize that this moment for us is a dangerous turning point. As citizens, we must vigilantly look at what's going on. And I urge you to stay informed, speak out, and demand transparency and accountability from those in power, no matter whether they're in the federal government or in your state government or in your city. America's future depends on those willing to defend it, not those willing to sell it. Thank you very much for listening to Podcast 130. Together, we can truly protect our democracy and reestablish our values. Transparency and accountability are the cornerstones of a true democracy.